we are still in the afterglow of the 2017 Texas High School Football State Championship games. And one guy who I imagine hasn't stopped smiling for the past couple of weeks is the head coach of the Class 2A Division I state champions, the Mart Panthers. We're joined by Coach Kevin Hoffman. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing good. Still got that big smile on my face.
I was going to ask. I was going to say, has it faded? But it sounds like it hasn't, and then I think that's a good thing.
No, it's I still got a big smile, and all the coaches are still smiling. The kids are still on cloud nine, and we've watched the replay of the game at least a dozen times.
Yeah, I imagine you're not going to get tired of watching your 34-21 win over Refugio. I want to ask you first and foremost. You took over a program from a guy who was beloved in that community and in Rusty Nail, and those are big shoes to fill. This in your third year there at Mart. What was different this year as opposed to maybe the first 2 years?
Well, this group of kids, this senior class, they were really my first group. Then they were sophomores, and a bunch of them played my first year as a head coach, and taking over for Rusty was it was a bip deal, and I had to think about that when I took the job, but I didn't want to be any other place, and if I was going to be a head coach and Mart would be the place I'd want to do it. I tried to get the job 9 years ago when Rusty got the job. I interviewed for the job when he did, and he got the job instead of I did. And then he called me a few years later and asked me if I wanted to come join his staff, and I didn't even have to think twice about it.
Oh, it's a remarkable job you've done there, and even within the confines of the state championship game against Refugio, you guys go down early, and I'll be honest, we were up there in the booth watching this game, and it's 14-0, and we go at the end of one, we go, uh-oh, is this going to be one-way traffic? You guys never panicked, though. What was your message to your kids? What were you telling the guys on the sideline when you guys do fall down 14-0 to a really good Refugio team?
Well, we were still in awe of the stadium and playing there, and it was just hoping we could weather the storm. After, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of scary when we went down 14-0. I looked at that clock, and there was 8 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the first quarter. And I was like, we better get this thing turned around quickly. When I just got all the kids together after that score, and they came over, and I just told them, you guys, listen, we're here. They have knocked us down on the mat. What are you going to do about it? You going to get up and you're going to fight your way back, or are you just going to lay there and take it? And I know my kids, and I know what they're going to do, and they're going to always fight, and they're going to play hard till the end. And, they came around, and we made a few plays and got a stop on defense, and, and then got the thing tied with the fake field goal, and then went up with, made a big sack on fourth down and threw a deep ball, and went in with a lot of momentum at halftime.
It was a really remarkable turnaround, really in the span of just a few minutes that you guys seemed to hit a switch. But you mentioned the fake field goal, and I'm going to give you the opportunity here on the show, if you want to take full credit for that play call, if you want to take full credit for that play design, because that's one of the best special teams plays we've seen in the state championship. Take us through the process of calling that play, knowing that you could just take the points, close this thing to 14-10, but instead you guys do it. Take us through the thought process behind that fake field goal.
Well, to start off, I'm going to take full credit for the play design. I'm going to take full credit for the play call. I'll tell you, and I told somebody, I ran that play when I was in college at Lamar University. Mm-hmm. I threw it for a touchdown against Stephen F. Austin one year and beat them. The play call is LU for Lamar University. But anyway, when we got stopped on second, third down, and I waited and called timeout. it ran through my mind that we didn't come here to get second place. We're down 7. We need a shot in the arm, another shot in the arm, and we've been practicing this thing, and we think we got a good chance with it. Let's run it. And my thinking is that their thinking might be, well, we're just going to try to get some points because we come out in the second half, we're going to get the ball right back, and maybe we can go down and do our thing. When they called timeout, the thought was that they're calling timeout, tell their kids, watch for the fake, watch for the fake. But the way the play is designed, that if you're playing man coverage, which most people do on that we're going to run those 2 kids off on the other side, and the guy that's covering Woola man to man has got to come behind the line of scrimmage or on his side, and he's got to run through a lot of traffic by the time they realize it. And if they rush and try to block the kick, they'll come underneath and we'll roll out anyway. But when we lined up and we saw that they weren't rushing the kick, I said, well, if they're playing man, we got them. And they were playing man. They didn't rush the kick. My 2 receivers on the right ran across to the left. Those 2 guys ran with them. Nobody ran with Shatydrick until it was too late. There was no pressure, so it was an easy pitch and catch.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we're talking with Kevin Hoffman, the head coach of the Mart Panthers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. I'll be honest, watching that play live, I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, they got him beat. The only question was, I was worried if your quarterback, Jace Terry, who had a fabulous game himself and a fabulous season, if he was too wide open. You know what I mean? Like, how and I'm sure you've seen it, that he's got too much time and he's too open. But he put it on the money, and it was a lot of fun to watch, and it really put a shot in the arm, as you mentioned. Tied the game. You guys ended up taking the lead into halftime, and one of the big reasons you guys, are state champions. You mentioned Woola. You mentioned Shatydrick Bailey. I know he was the talk of social media. He was the talk of the state championship game, the offensive MVP. You are the guy who gets to see him every day in practice. What is it about this kid that makes him so special?
Man, he's a dynamite. He practices full, just like you see him in the game. What you see in the game is what you get in practice every day. He practices that way. He's an awesome kid. He just loves playing the game, and he loves being out there. And he along with Jace Terry, who I thought played lights out. Had an unbelievable game when things broke down. He made plays. He made things happen, along with, Jalen, who had probably the best game of his career, 7 catches for 199 yards. So, I mean, those guys all just are unbelievable. And I wish I had them all back. Shatydrick will be back, but I'm missing the other 2, along with 7 seniors total. That I just can't thank enough for the way that those 7 seniors kept this team together and were leaders, and I'm going to miss them.
Coach, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, you and I talked for last summer's magazine about your expectations for this season, and I want to go back to those seniors for one reason in particular. We talked. You knew the strengths you had. You had a great senior class. You had great skill players, but you were sort of mortified about your offensive and defensive line depth. Fast forward a few months later, and we see Shatydrick Bailey playing defensive tackle. And I wonder what the process was like for you guys as a staff, coming up with creative solutions for a lack of depth in the most pivotal place on a football field.
Well, and I remember that conversation, and at that time, we didn't even know how to have 5 offensive linemen on our depth chart. We didn't have 4 defensive linemen on our depth chart, so we just went looking through our roster, and we moved a kid that had played receiver for us. He was a big kid. He didn't play much, but he Chris Bledsoe kid played receiver for us. We moved him to the offense and defensive lines just for depth, and he played a little bit, was on our special teams. But a kid like that that we had to move from receiver. Shatadrick, obviously, his special talents we had to get on the field and keep on the field in all phases of the game, and he wasn't playing defense. And I had told people before that, we tried him at corner and we tried him at outside linebacker, and just seems like nothing ever fit and nothing ever worked out where he could be one of the better guys on the field at those positions. So, I just go back to 2010 when we had a kid named Anthony Martin that, he was quite a bit bigger than Shatadrick, but he was a sprinter on our sprint relay and 100-meter dash kid. And so he played nose guard for us in our old 3-4 defense and just caused people a lot of trouble. And we talked about it in the springtime that, hey, let's just put Shatadrick down there at defensive tackle and let him play a one technique and don't really teach him anything other than getting in a 4-point stance and see how much mess he can cause by getting in the backfield. And we didn't do it in the spring, and we came along 2-a-days, and I just finally got tired of looking at our defensive front four and not having just a ton of speed on it. So we stuck him down there, and the first few snaps, he was in the backfield before the ball was. And so I said, let's leave him there and don't really spend a lot of time teaching him technique or anything. Just let him go and just let him have fun and just let him see if he'll adapt to it. And man, he gravitated to it. He loved it. He loved all the contact. He loved beating those guys off the snap of the ball. And the other thing is that the freshman, number 10, Rodrell Freeman, he was a middle linebacker in middle school, and we just knew that he was talented enough and fast enough and big and strong enough to play on Fridays for us. Again, we moved him to defensive end and put his hand in the ground, and it took him a while to get used to that and get the grasp of that. But man, that kid to be a freshman and to impact our defense the way he had, he's a special kid too.
We're talking with Kevin Hoffman, the head coach of the 2A Division I state champion Mart Panthers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Coach, we could talk to you forever, but I know you're busy, man. You're already planning on how you're going to repeat. But I want to ask you, this is a Mart program with high expectations. This is a Mart program that demands excellence in everything that they do. You bring home your 6th state championship. I want to know what the party was like in Mart, Texas, when you guys got home.
Well, we went straight to the football stadium and had the lights turned on, and there were I don't know, a couple hundred people up there, and we had the trophy out and the sign, and we had the music playing, and went on till I don't know, probably 2:00 in the morning. Finally, it was cold, and a lot of the kids were getting cold, but the parents were still enjoying, and the community was out, and finally I told the coaches and the kids, I said, if we leave this music playing and you kids out here, if y'all don't start heading toward that bus, these people are going to stay here forever. And so I told the kids to start kind of heading towards the bus, and we shut the music off, and things kind of broke down, and so we partied and took pictures well into the night. But the party still went on, and until New Year's Eve, we had a coaches and family get together for New Year's Eve, and replayed the game, and had some barbecue, and played some games, and had a lot of fun, and just kind of relived the whole thing, and we did that well into midnight and a little after. But it's time to get back to work. Go back to work tomorrow, and like you said, we're gonna put the pieces together, and that's gonna be our deal. Is we want to do something that's never been done at Mart, and that's to repeat and go back to back.
Well, it will be. They are the kings of 2A Division I, and you're going to have to come and take it from them. They are the Mart Panthers and their head coach, Coach Kevin Hoffman. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on all your success. Enjoy this one at least for like one more day, and then and then if you want to go home, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all having me on and everything y'all do for high school football.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
There he goes, Kevin Hoffman, the head coach, the Mart Panthers, joining us on Texas Football Today. Yeah, it was, there were just a couple of bold, like both in the big picture and in the granular picture.
Yeah,
a couple buttons that needed to be pushed to put them over the top.
Figured out what they were,
and exactly. Sometimes you got to know yourself.
Yeah,
and it's very clear he understood what this team had.
Yep.
And in a lot of respects, what this team didn't have.
I love the practicality of the decision-making, right? We go back to the Shatydrick Bailey a defensive tackle thing. I think it probably helps that they had an unorthodox approach years ago when they put a kid at defensive tackle, like he said. But, a lot of coaches, I think, would probably be in that situation and go, we can't put a 5'3" kid at defensive tackle.
Right.
Come on. It'll look ridiculous. It's not. You can't do that. You got to put him somewhere else. Well, he didn't really have a choice. And the kid got the job done.
He did.
And it's just one of those things. It's like you put into a corner, you have to come up with a creative solution. And that's why I asked that question, because he genuinely was a little mortified at their depth at that position when I talked to him last spring. And it didn't matter. They found a way to win.
And that is a unique challenge you see at 2A, right? 2A and 3A. 4A, you might have 4A, 5A, and 6A, certainly.
Yeah.
You're going to have another guy that you could say, all right, like you don't worry about having enough linemen.
Right.
Like literally having enough people.
Right.
But that's something they do at a small program like that. And so you have to get creative. You have to think outside the box. And I think that one of the legacies of the 2017 Mart Panthers, besides the state championship, is the creative ways in which they had to solve problems in order to get there.
Yeah.
And so it was really remarkable and an incredible year for the Mart Panthers, their 6th state championship, and we appreciate Coach Kevin Hoffman for helping out with us.